Good morning. This is the March 16th, 2021 meeting of the Arts Economy Subcommittee of the Economic Development Commission for Town of Old Lyme. We are beginning our meeting at 9:05 a.m. I'm Cheryl Poirier. Welcome everyone. This is our first meeting. We will introduce ourselves in just a moment, but I want to share, we have some people who could not make this morning's meeting, and I hope they get to see the recording. They are wonderful additions to this committee. Include Alden Murphy, who is one of the leaders of Musical Masterworks and a great cultural advocate for everything in town. Jeff Cooley and Betsy Cooley are kind of a tag team, owners of the Cooley Gallery and also very supportive of cultural activities in town. Cindy Miller-Aird, who many of you know, she has a successful travel marketing business focused on the Caribbean, but has a long history. Her entire career has been focused on tourism, including in the early part of her career, Connecticut, and working with the State Office of Tourism as a liaison for them. And then Sherry Cody, who is a new member, Economic Development Commission. She is a new resident of Old Lyme. She is with a lot of experience in chambers of commerce and regional marketing. We're expecting two other people to join us this morning. Lori Pavlos, who is the director of the Lyme Art Association, and Gil Burrow, who is an artist, a sculptor who lives on Lime Street and has his sculpture grounds open to the public at his property. So I'm going to have each of you introduce yourselves. We may know each other here, but there are also people who are watching or will watch in the future. So just briefly who you are and your connection to this topic. And I'm just going to go in the order of my screen. So I'll start with Dan Stevens.
Hello, I'm Ramblin' Dan Stevens. Y'all can call me Ramblin', first name. And my wife Gail and I have Nightingale's Cafe on Lime Street. We're just about ready to open up again for coffee and light bites on April 1st. So everybody come on down. Hey, Alden.
Great. Maura?
Hi, I'm Maura Rowe, and I'm the new executive director at the Lyme Academy of Fine Arts.
That does sound very fresh to say.
That is fresh to say.
Okay, great. Welcome, Maura. And Dan, Howard?
Howard Margulies, I'm chair of the EDC. I'm not really on this committee. I wanted to be, but Cheryl likes you people more than me, so I'm not an official member.
That is a running joke. Howard has an open invitation. He's also a very talented photographer. Jeannie.
I'm Jeannie Mallory. I live on Lime Street, and I'm involved in a variety of things in town. But officially, I'm on the Historic District Commission. So I suppose that's how I earned this spot.
You're also on the board of the Florence Griswold Museum, I believe, and quite active in for attending or being involved in cultural events in town.
Sure.
So I'm very excited to have you here. Katie? Oh.
Hi, sorry about that. So I'm Katie Huffman. I'm the director of the library, and I'm also the current acting chair of the Arts District with many heavy lifts from Cheryl. Happy to be here.
Alden, I'm so happy to see you. I mentioned before you got on that I thought you would not be here. So if you could just briefly introduce yourself, because this will also be shared with people on YouTube that don't know us, like we all know each other.
I'm Alden Murphy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm Alden Murphy. I'm president of the board of Musical Masterworks and one of the founders. We're in our 30th season now. And as if you don't know us, we have our concert home in the First Congregational Church right on Lime Street, even though we don't own bricks and mortar. We have music in town, sort of like Dan, just a very different kind of music. All music's good.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alden. Edie?
Edie Twining. I'm on this committee and also EDC, Halls Road Improvements Committee. I'm the chair there. I'm on the Old Lyme Historical Society Board and the Old Lyme Land Trust. I'm also a designer and illustrator and artist type person. I've been doing that kind of work for the last 40 years. So lots of graphic design and also illustration, murals, and interior design. So I do commercial interiors for lots of different places.
Great. Thank you. Lori?
Can't hear you.
I'm sorry. I'm Lori Pavlos. I'm the executive director at the Lyme Art Association.
Thanks, Lori. Tammy?
I think I'm
Hi,
treasurer
good morning,
of this
everybody.
organization.
Oh, I'm sorry. What, Lori?
That's all right. I was going to say I think I'm treasurer of this organization, but this year we haven't had anything to for me to do. So
Of the Arts District, yes. Thank you. Tammy?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Tammy Flynn at the Florence Griswold Museum. I'm the marketing director.
Happy to have you here. And Will?
Good morning, everybody. My name's Will Bradford, and I am Betsy Cooley's brother.
Saying Jack Kennedy
Oh,
is
Will, you're so modest.
Jack's husband. So you have a little bit more to you than just being the brother of the famous Betsy Cooley.
I wanted to get first things first, the important things out of the way. I've been around for a long time and have some experience in marketing.
Yes, you have quite a lot of experience in marketing.
Well, old history.
Well, thank you. And also you've been involved in the arts, very involved in the past with the Florence Griswold Museum. And
That's true. Yep.
yeah, great. Well, I'm just so thrilled that you're all here. And per our agenda, I'd like to have Howard welcome you as the chair of the Economic Development Commission, which we are under. Howard, are you on mute?
Okay, here I am. Okay, I will welcome you. I'm really pleased to see this group get launched, the subcommittee. I think it's a very strong one. And besides people with experience in the arts, they're also fortunate to have people who have extensive expertise and experience in economic development, including Maura and Sherry, who is not here today. So I think it's a great combination. And of course, we all know how great Cheryl is. I've worked with Cheryl on a number of things, and she's the perfect person to lead this. And you can just tell by her notes on even the meeting and the emails, and the background is just terrific. As Cheryl mentioned, you know, it's a little clunky because this subcommittee is under the EDC. I guess the town, you know, has so many committees, they didn't want to form a separate one. So it's under the EDC. And that just, you know, makes it a little bit clunkier than being out on your own, because as Cheryl has indicated, you do have to follow all the rules of the Freedom of Information Act. And she's, I won't go through those, but, you know, she's, I think, enumerated those. So, and the other thing is, since it's a subcommittee, it does need, you know, approval, whatever you do, by the full EDC committee. Not that I anticipate that that's any problem. You know, we do, Edie's on that, Cheryl's on that, I'm on that, and Sherry's on it. But just to let you know that. So that's kind of the bad news. The good news of being under the EDC, I don't know, is there any good news about being under the EDC, Cheryl? I'm not sure there is. But so I just wanted to mention that. The origins of kind of this mission and what we're trying to do as far as the town concerned dates back to a couple of years ago when the EDC wanted to develop an overall economic development strategy. And we thought the first step was to make sure that we had input from the town in a variety of ways. So we had contracted with Advanced CT. It used to be CIRC, if you've heard that name before. They've changed their name and now it's Advanced CT. And we had them provide us with 3 reports. One was a business and resident survey where we asked a whole bunch of questions. You probably have seen it. And we had tremendous response to that. Well over, I think it was 738 response. We expected about a couple of hundred and wound up with 700. So it was a really very good input from the town. We had, the SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats workshop where we invited kind of businesses and organizations to give their input on what we think the future should look like as far as economic development. And then Advanced CD did provide us with an economic development report and an analysis. So what really struck, then EDC was going to step back and say, gee, what did we learn from all that and how do we go forward? And when you look at it, one thing that really struck out at me was the community really valued the arts. They recognized the arts. They valued the arts. And so given that, Cheryl and I have been talking for quite a while, and this is really the outgrowth of that process on how best to leverage the arts. And there's a lot of things going on right now that I think it's make it the timing perfect is, we're going, one thing is the arts in Old Lyme are a differentiator when you look at our surrounding towns. So what different about us than Old Saybrook or East Lyme or any of the other short towns? It's the arts. It's unique. And we ought to be leveraging that as best we can. And, we don't know what's going to happen coming out of the pandemic. A lot of businesses are going to be challenged, probably. Some may not make it. We've already had inklings of potential businesses not renewing their leases on Halls Road. We know the Bank of America's leaving at the end of the month. So all the towns are going to be looking what to do and how to attract new businesses. And again, when you look at Old Lyme, what makes us unique is the art community. So I think, my message is very simple. It's everyone recognizes the importance of the arts, all 3 reports. And I think we should do everything to leverage that. And so my message is basically be bold and go big, think big, think bold, could always back off. I know the town, as Cheryl in her email indicated, the town does provide some financial backing to a number of the organizations in town, but that doesn't mean we can't continue to try to leverage the arts community as a whole rather than individually and link it closer to the economic development goals of the town. So like I say, I probably talk too much, but go big and go bold. That's my message.
That's great. Thank you, Howard. Really useful. So I really want to keep this to close by 10 a.m. And I thought perhaps what we would do is just have a roundtable conversation about the key questions that I sent out to you, and they all are based off of the suggestion that Advanced CT, as Howard mentioned, one of their recommendations was to build on the arts and culture traditions and local attractions in Old Lyme to create a unique destination, which is a very big suggestion without a lot of detail on how they think we might go about that. And that's really up to us to kind of, over time, come up with suggestions on how to achieve that, building on the arts and culture traditions and local attractions in Old Lyme to create a unique destination. So I do have 3 slides with the 3 questions. And let's see if I can even do a slide share. There we go. And I know with WebEx, it's going to take a moment for it to come up. So someone will have to let me know when they see my slide. And I thought we could spend just 10 to 15 minutes on each question, kind of free form on, let me just see, free form on some thoughts. If you have a detailed example from another town or a detailed story you'd like to share, in the interest of time, perhaps we can just jot down the reference point and I can send out links. Like, I know New Bedford, Massachusetts has an amazing cultural district in town, and it would be, so I can send that link to you and you can see it for yourself. I don't need to describe it in detail in the interest of time. And also keeping in mind that we do tend to talk about Lime Street itself and what we've marketed as the Arts District, but we're really talking about all of Old Lyme. So, you know, perhaps the beach area, or there are some music venues outside of Lime Street. So we really want to think about Old Lyme, the town of Old Lyme in total. Does anyone see my slide yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Let me put it on slideshow. Okay, so this is the key question. Oh, actually, this is the first of the 3 questions. And I'm saving the question of how can we best support the arts organizations for the 3rd, because we've talked about that quite a lot. And I actually, I think I sent you out a presentation in December on that. So how do we build arts and culture into Old Lyme's overall quality of life so it supports current residents and businesses and attracts new residents and businesses? That's a big question, but I'd be curious people's thoughts on what that makes, you know, has them thinking. Beanie?
Yeah. I think we are, as a town, and having attended those meetings that Howard was referencing, we benefit from a community that really takes a huge amount of pride in Old Lyme and in the artistic community here. So I think that we're starting out from that strength, is that even people who don't necessarily participate seem to have a great deal of pride in it. So it seems to me we've lost a couple of things. We've lost, for example, we've lost and we've gained. I mean, we've lost the Bee and Thistle as a place where people were able to go to the Florence Griswold or go to concerts and then go there after. We've also gained the Roger Tory Peterson, so that's wonderful. But for visitors to our cultural institutions, I think we should try and support some of the things that we already have. For example, the Old Lyme Inn. If we could find a way to kind of encourage that as a place where people can come to our museums and our concerts and our midsummer festivals and go there. And likewise with the property right around the corner on Halls Road where the Hungry Goose is. It's such an obvious location for people to park at the museum or at any of these other places and walk around, which of course would encourage us to build some sidewalks there. So that's just, to me, it seems to be somewhat of a first step.
So I'm taking notes as we go along, but one thing that jumps out from that as a potential action to further explore is infrastructure in terms of sidewalks. And I know Edie, maybe at a future meeting can tell us more about the Halls Road master plan, but even sidewalks in front of the museum and Old Lyme Inn and the Roger Tory Peterson and LAA, we don't have sidewalks there. So yeah, that connectivity.
I think it would be tremendous. I mean, seeing how much people enjoy walking on Lime Street, I think the ability to continue on, I don't know where you'd stop it, maybe at Sill Lane or someplace, but I think it would be really lovely for people visiting Old Lyme.
Great. Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you, Deanie.
I have a question. Well, I thought.
Yes, Will.
The creation of walks before even going to sidewalks intrigues me, that we could conceive, it's sort of like the Connecticut Art Trail, but the Old Lyme Culture Trail. And you walk, the fact that it's such a pleasing pedestrian experience between the Bee and Thistle all the way to the church in the center of town, I think it's an opportunity that is there that simply needs to be packaged and thought about a little bit. But the assets are there, and it'd be a way to encourage people to recognize the assets. The question, how do we build arts and culture into Old Lyme's overall quality of life? I'm probably a little dim-witted on this. I find this really confusing. I don't know what this. I don't know how you build arts and culture into a quality of life. This is a. It just seems sort of abstract. This question. So those are my two. Does anybody else have a little problem with the question?
Well, I'll join you there. The funny thing about the question is that I think maybe this is already been stated. Art and culture already are. They are our greatest gift, and I think most people recognize that. All those institutions are right there. I do think we're probably a destination for tourists to come because of the museums, the academy, the association. As you say, it's up to us to probably package it. Look to all you marketers for that. And the one thought I also have is more of an internal thought of encouraging collaborations among the various entities. The more that we can encourage, whether it's meal discounts, if you go to the Lyme Academy or the Lyme Art Association, you get a free Coke at the Old Lyme, and who knows. But to encourage the institutions to work together, we're stronger together. I know that's a corny phrase, but the more we can collaborate with each other, those are also things that we can then promote through all you brilliant marketers' means.
Yeah.
So a couple of thoughts. First of all, we have a great starting point for a cultural trail, Will, with a historic. There's a walking tour that Amy was quite involved in putting together for the Historic Society, which is architectural, the history of Lime Street kind of through architecture and who lived there. But I like also the idea of kind of the cultural tour, because we don't really play up in any way. I mean, there are those of us who are involved in the arts on Lime Street, and we know the history of the artists going from Miss Griswold's house to their new gallery next door, and then the Academy growing to its own building and the other players. So I think that's a really great idea, especially at this time when people are trying to get out and walk. So we can definitely build on that. In terms of the nebulous nature of the question, one thing that the Economic Development Commission wants to do is find a way to attract businesses that are key to our image as an arts and culture town, and kind of supports that. And maybe, you know, it's not so much building on the quality of life, but more celebrating our uniqueness as an arts and culture town, or thinking about arts and culture when doing things like, you know, this was a off the top idea that came up in a meeting that hasn't been played out, but maybe as they move forward with affordable housing, maybe there needs to be some sort of a component in that architecture that plays off of arts and culture. You know, like as decisions are made by the town, are they keeping arts and culture in mind when making those decisions? Halls Road improvement, you know, maybe arts and culture plays into some of the thinking there. So, or maybe Old Lyme sponsors a day, you know, they sponsor free admission at the Florence Griswold for Old Lyme residents one day of the year. So I guess it's playing up the uniqueness of Old Lyme, more so than maybe the confusion that the question as it's written.
So are you saying that how do we build arts and culture into Old Lyme's overall quality? I mean, why can't we just say, how do we build Old Lyme arts and culture so it supports current residents and businesses, attracts new residents and businesses?
Sure.
I don't understand what quality of life is.
Okay.
Okay. But would you agree that I mean, is that what we're trying to say, is how do we build arts and culture for Old Lyme so businesses, you know, anyway, the quality of life, I don't.
If I could say something from an economic standpoint, you know, in my town back in California, we utilized arts and culture to do exactly what Cheryl's saying, which was to really attract new business and also to retain our youth so that they weren't leaving, that we created that vibrancy that would both work to retain, but also attract new businesses, new people, new CEOs that would value the same values as the town. And so one way that I can see that the academy might fit into that is that we are looking for ways in which we can reactivate our campus and be more inclusive to bringing the community in. So we're really interested in looking at ways that we can do that is consistent with the current residents in Old Lyme. So looking for guidance from the town as to how we can create that vibrancy, but also with something and in a way that the town would enjoy it, as opposed to contradicting what you really want. So whether that would be inviting musicians onto the campus on a regular basis, how we activate the cafe. We'd like it really to serve the entire town and not just the campus itself and the students, but really look for what would serve the town best. So, I mean, I can see how the question the quality of life in a lot of economic terms is what attracts ultimately the CEOs and the businesses and even for us, the international students that we're going to be looking at attracting, and some of the lecture series and things like that.
So I wanted to add on to that in terms of businesses. There's a lot of galleries in Old Lyme that show beautiful paintings. But one of the things I think that's lacking is there's not a lot of places for crafts and artisans to sell their artwork here, and there's a lot of other people here besides painters that could really, if there was, we talked more about maybe there's something in the art supply store at the academy that would also feature, pieces that people are making that are less
Fine
painting
arts.
oriented and more craft oriented, more artisan. I know quite a few people who make really cool things, but there's really no venue here that you would sell those things at. And I think that's a lacking piece in this town that I think could really support the arts and culture of the town. And then I had one other piece, which is besides arts and culture in Old Lyme, there's this amazing resource of land trusts and beautiful places to go paint and collect stuff from the grounds. And, this is something that should also be part of this, I think, because what drew people to this town was the beauty of the nature around it. And I think that would really help to integrate a little bit more about what is so special about Old Lyme, because yes, the arts and cultures are big, but I think we could take more advantage of drawing classes at Watch Rock or that kind of stuff. So I think that could also bring in more interest to the town.
Edie, I would love to work with you on that list of artisans and crafts makers, because not only for our art store, but also possibly we're going to be exploring the idea of a Thursday evening kind of farmers market, craft fair. So I would love to work with you, because that might be an interesting venue for that as well.
Sure, that sounds great.
I think that plays right into kind of one of the underlying ideas of that question is, how do we create excitement across town about arts and culture? And I think things, and Edie, your point is really on target in terms of, we have a lot of arts and culture here, but it's because the nature drew people here and the ecology drew people here. So if we can even excite people about, we're operating here as representatives of the municipality. So what can the municipality do to build on arts and culture? So maybe, the municipality, Town of Old Lyme, supports a photography, not a competition, but an online gallery. We can have on the Facebook page, send in your best photos of sunsets in Old Lyme, or, land trust, or whatever. There's got to be ways to play off of that to encourage people to see the nature around them in their own artistic way.
Do you have a current Instagram page?
I think the town focuses on Facebook, and just emergency services focuses on Instagram at this point.
Yeah, it would be great, because the photography element, if you start building up your hashtag and your handle, that's a great way to collect those images, especially from people who are traveling through.
Oh, that's great.
They'll hashtag Old Lyme, Connecticut. And then from that, you can see, and you can build on that. That's a great measurable on how many people, and actually a lot of magazines and a lot of statewide marketing organizations, especially destination marketing organizations, they really look to how many people are hashtagging your city as when they start selecting like most popular cities and things like that. So it might be something worth investigating. And if you needed some help, I'd be happy to help. But starting an Instagram that was more photography focused about the experience in Old Lyme.
That's a great idea. And a couple of things for the town, Michelle and Town Hall oversees all of the social media, and there's a lot of time spent on her part. So that's a conversation for another day. But also the Chamber of Commerce is figuring out how to reactivate, and they have visitoldlime.com. So maybe we can engage them to do the Instagram. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's great. And it's a great way for you to collect all the time. And I think you'd be surprised if you I think if you look at the hashtag now, I'm sure there are people, I know that Amaya and Jordan, who just moved here as our artistic director and drawing director, are constantly tagging every time they're out. So it is a fun way for you to kind of collect it, how people are engaging with your community.
Great. Oh, excellent. Okay, good. In the interest of time, I'm going to go to the next question. And Alden and Deanie already spoke to this a tiny bit, but how can the town of Old-Lyme and its small businesses, both future and current, more fully take advantage of tourists and visitors to the arts organizations? And I have to say, I've had trouble getting people with businesses in the area, like on Halls Road and, in the area, to be able to commit time to this committee. But I would like to have a future, like one roundtable with local business leaders to get their input on what they think would be helpful as well.
Very key.
Yeah, I think their voice is really important, and getting them, having them available for occasional meetings has been tough. So, and I'd like to do the same thing with artists and artisans as well. But to the point of this question, I think it was Alden who said supporting places like the Hangry Goose.
No, I did. Yeah.
Oh, Deanie, right.
I mentioned collaboration among the institutions, among arts and/or retail and dining.
I mean, Alden knows, of course, because she's the head of it, but at Musical Masterworks, we would have special dinners at the Bean and Thistle following concerts. And it was a huge success. People came from all over. They loved the opportunity to go to a concert and then go on for a discounted dinner. And these are the kinds of collaborations that we've already seen work. And if we could
by the way,
find
those concerts were at the Lyme Art Association. So
right.
We had
And
the music and the art and the dinner package.
Yep.
Perhaps the town could put together something, and I can see this both in a print format and, of course, online, accessible from your phone or something. But we're often I love the big collaboration of a concert and a dinner, and that was a fantastic way to get the concert to branch out and touch other organizations on Line Street. But people come in 2s and 3s as well, and to the museum and to LAA, and people visiting the academy. It would be nice to have something where you can, you can just let them know what else there is to do here. Are there little shops somewhere? Can I have lunch? And people ask and we tell them, we give recommendations, but we might not know every place to have lunch, or we might be thinking of one place in particular and forgetting another. So, and on our website, we've sometimes listed the places to stay or to have lunch, and they've changed. So, it would be nice if it was not just on each little organization to put together their recommendations for what to do when you're here and where to eat and where to shop. But it was some kind of a unified, it could be a little brochure that we have on, you can hand it out to everybody and we'll put some on our front desk, and it should also be accessible online.
As a follow-up to that, I think a brochure would be great. And I was thinking the story of Old Lyme has to be told, and it isn't really documented in the art context. I had a thought of Old Lyme, Connecticut's Giverny, and have that brochure say, yeah, it all started way back with Henry Ward Ranger and all of that, but it's now blossomed with the Academy, with all these other things, and here they all are. And while you're here, you can go to this restaurant, you can go to that, all of that. But base it, start it from Connecticut's Giverny, that artistic identity. And then under that umbrella, you can include all of the different businesses that would be, that would benefit. But just a thought.
I love that, Will.
I like that idea.
I think
And
it may be a
I
little.
love that idea too.
It's a great push.
Yeah, well, Tammy, do you think it's too bold? I mean, is it Connecticut's Giverny, Old Lyme? I mean, are we?
Well, no,
pushing
we
our luck?
actually have a quote about that. So
Oh, great. Great.
I think that's okay.
But I think, since it's
idea.
since
Will,
it started with American Impressionism, I don't want it to be limited to American. I think it's a nod to the fact that this is where it started. But look at the magical place it's grown into, and you can visit here. And I think that can be a brochure, or that can be a website, that can be a number of things. But the idea of creating an identity in the art area, but not limiting it to American Impressionism, is appealing to me.
And Will, the key word you said was a story. Like, it's always about telling a story. That's what people can connect to.
The narrative is essential.
The narrative. And I think
that's
that's kind of what we've been missing is. Go ahead, Tammy.
Oh, no, I think we're saying the same thing, Cheryl. I think that, but Will, I think that's such a good idea. I mean, basically that's a pitch, a press release and a pitch, really, because we could, once it's all set out, that could be a real good pitch to all sorts of places. I love the idea. And I love what Lori was saying about having something that is the one place, the one stop, is what you're both saying. And I wonder if, and I don't want to put pressure on Cheryl and Katie, but I hear at the museum, always look at the Old Lyme Arts District for that sort of, wrapping around. I'll put their email or their website on things just so that people can go there and look, and I follow them on Instagram and Facebook and do, pull from them sometimes. And I think it would be good to have this one depository place so that we could link to those and say quite easily that, yes, we have so much to do. And while you're here, eat at this restaurant or, stay overnight. And one of the things that the museum is really trying very hard to do over the next couple of years is be a partner, even more so than we are now. And we have a wonderful partnership from April through June through a grant that we received through the tourism district with LAA. And in doing that, I realized I had to, one of the things we promised was to put a direct link to the LAA on our website. And so I took a really hard look at our website and decided that we could very much highlight them, but the way our website is set up in little blocks of 3. So I'm going to do LAA, and then I want to put the Old Lyme Arts District in one of the blocks. And then I have one that I could rotate for different organizations in town or businesses, and do the same thing in our e-newsletter. So, but it's really easy for me to, if I had a place to go to, I don't have time to hunt places, and things that are coming up. It's great to have in one place. So basically saying the same thing you two did.
I think one thing that this committee can do that the Arts District or the Chamber of Commerce can't is include everybody. So the Arts District is really a partnership of people who put money in the pot, as is the Chamber of Commerce. So we're highlighting and marketing partners or members of the chamber. But what this committee, as part of the municipality of Old Lyme, we can do the whole story, the whole picture. So maybe, and it's 10 of 10 now. Maybe what we can start to think about is the story of Old Lyme and how to, I don't like the word brand when talking about a town, but, tell the story of Old Lyme. And then how can we share that with others? Is it a rack card or brochure? Is it a dedicated website that we could, take advantage of through the town? I'm sure at Instagram, like we could just build everything around the story of Old Lyme.
So I'm sure that there are any number of newspapers, magazines that would be thrilled to do an article if we presented it to them.
Absolutely, Deanie. Yeah. So that's another key part, is just it gives us a vehicle to do the publicity for the town.
Yeah.
And that so supports our small businesses and the Old Lyme Inn. And
well, it would encourage investment too. I mean, if we could sort of get our arms around who we are and what we are offering, I think that would encourage people to come in and, maybe open a shop or a yogurt place or something here. So
absolutely. So if everyone has different technology abilities, me beginning with me, are people comfortable with Google Documents, Google Docs, or like how can we start to build some of this conversation between and now and the next time we speak? Should we just have like an email chain, or would people like a Google Doc where we can all edit the same document? How do people feel about things?
I think it would be useful to have everyone put down their own thoughts about what they feel is most important about Old Lyme, because we all may have slightly different perspectives, and then have somebody talented put that together.
Okay, so I'll send out an email. You all benefited from being in the meeting, but for those who couldn't be here as well, I'll send out an email. How should we word the question? What's the key question?
What is the character of Old Lyme?
That's one. I mean, or how would you tell the story of Old Lyme?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think essentially, though, before we get into any media channels or anything else, you got to nail down the story.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think that's really key.
Totally. Yeah. Get your package ready. Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't I put together some notes on what this whole concept can be, everything from building the story to what we might create, everything from social media to a website to a brochure, publicity. And this will play right into, I don't know if Howard's still on the line, but this can play right into the Economic Development Commission's work to, bring business to Old Lyme that they'll be starting up very soon. And Edie, I think it could play into future, people or developers or business owners who might want to move to Halls Road in the future.
Yeah.
Hey, as one last thing, years ago, I was involved in creating this Info New Haven site. And what we did was we focused on New Haven's food, its reputation for Pepe's, for all great food, and then built around it all the other attractions. If you go to infonewhaven.com, it sort of is, it might inform your thinking on how you might want to see the story told.
Is New Haven spelled out, Will, or is it?
No, it's Info New Haven, yeah.
Spelled out, New Haven.
Spelled out, yep, infonewhaven.com.
And are the billboards on 95 like in West Haven orange area. Is that part of that campaign
Yeah,
where they
it's
talk
all
about?
part of that campaign, and it's all funded through, participant contributions or payments.
Okay. And then I think to Deanie's point and your point about publicity and getting that out to media channels, the Office of Tourism, Connecticut Office of Tourism is always looking for nicely packaged information. Tammy knows this all too well. So I think we want this to be another part of our strategy is how do we really, emphasize what we can contribute to the Office of Tourism. And what I'd like to talk about next time or through email is the idea of a cultural district, which is an Office of Tourism, Office of the Arts, Connecticut Office of the Arts designation for towns in Connecticut that, have cultural assets all within walking distance. And I think we're absolutely right for that. Ridgefield is going for it. New London is now going for it. I think we're the right location to also get that designation. And my understanding is that the Office of the Arts and Tourism will be paying attention to those designations when they're doing promotion of Visit CT, ctvisit.com. Well, I think we've solved all the problems of the world this morning. Are there any other thoughts before we sign off?
Cheryl, just I'll make it really fast. Couple of observations. There are some existing stories. There is the historic side has, their walk about historic places in Old Lyme. There are, the nature trails and all that are kind of documented. And then you can have the art. So, the story seems to be a combination of those three. It's the history going back to the Revolution, it's the arts, and then it's the natural beauty and the trails and all that you can weave together all, to make that story. Secondly, if you go into Maura's point or Edie's point about if you're looking to establish a place for local crafts and art to be sold, the Spectrum Gallery in Centerbrook is probably one of the few that have survived and prospered galleries that exhibit local art and crafts. And they've done, I think their success is that they've combined the two. So they have they sell jewelry and local crafts and locally made things reasonably priced, and that keeps them going. And then they have art exhibits too, then they do sell art and there. So that's an example to look at if you want to try to duplicate something like that. And then just finally, the Halls Road master plan will be hopefully coming out in April. And to me, that's, a key component of the success and viability of the arts community. Having the ability to park on Lime Street somewhere and walk through a really attractive area on Halls Road with those yogurt shops and other things would be great. And the other way around, and, potentially a pedestrian bridge, that's really going to be a tremendous asset to the arts community. So I would just, if you see the plan and you agree with it or parts of it, please be vocal, because we need support. We need public support for that plan. There are elements of town that people just don't want anything new. They're afraid, if we pull one brick out of somewhere, the whole town's going to collapse. And we need, if you agree with it, we need that public support. But great meeting. Great job, Cheryl.
Well, really great contributions from everyone. Thank you, Howard, for making this all happen. And I will send out an email. If anyone knows of an easy way for us to communicate more effectively than email between now and the next meeting, that would be welcomed. And rather than choose a meeting time now, I'd like to maybe do that by an email as well, so that we can include Cindy and Sherry and Jeff and Betsy and the folks that didn't make it this morning, to make sure we have a time that works for everyone. All right, I'm very excited about this. We had some really good ideas come up, and I'll write up the minutes and get those out. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Cheryl. Thanks, everyone.